to hold the incarnation of Christ himself, was made known by the message of an angel. May by his passion and cross be brought to glory and resurrection. Through the same Christ our Lord.
This is Jordan Pacheco, host of Ask a Priest Live, and you're listening to the Station of the Cross, proclaiming the fullness of the truth with clarity and charity.
Heard around the world on iCatholic Radio on your Android and Apple mobile devices.
From the Station of the Cross Studios, this is Ask a Priest Live's Christmas Special with Father Daniel Alloy, Father William Rock, and now your ho-ho host, Jordan Pacheco.
God be praised in his angels and in his saints. Merry Christmas, everybody. Can I just say something before we get off to the races? I never know what those yokels, James and Daniel, our producers, are going to pull, but it's Christmas tide, which means that I knew the Shooby-Doo Christmas music was coming off out of the track. So thanks, boys. That was a very, very wonderful welcome, and it's good to be with each and every one of you. Merry Christmas, listeners and viewers all, from your humble friends here at Ask a Priest Live. We're very happy that you're tuning in, and I hope y'all didn't miss us too much as you were ripping up those presents and thanking our Lord for his incarnation yesterday, which you better have done, by the way. I woke up this morning in the great state of Texas, and near Amarillo to be exact, and I drove through New Mexico and halfway up Colorado, and here I am back with each and every one of you. So my sister is down there. It was a great time. Next time I might fly though. So hey, thank you all for tuning in to Ask a Priest Live. Yes, indeed, we are so happy. This is a very, very, very special show, and like any special show we do, it has been in the making for years. Well, if years, we mean a couple of weeks and maybe an email or two, but you get the point, because this is our Christmas double feature episode. So y'all thought that Advent one was fun. Well, we thought it was so fun, we were going to do it again. So we have not one, but two priests on with us today. We have Father Daniel Alloy, Fraternity of St. Peter, out there in Houston, Texas, and Father William Rock. He is out there at St. Stanislaus Catholic Church in Nashua, New Hampshire. Merry Christmas, Fathers. I hope it has been great so far.
Merry Christmas, Jordan.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, very, very good. I'm very glad that you guys, I know that this is such a busy time of year for priests, so believe me, we are so honored that you guys are joining us today. We're going to have some great fun because we're going to spin through some awesome questions, and also we're going to dive into some Christmas themed questions and answers. So we're going to have a little bit of fun. Watch out now, you have been warned. So let's go and open up those phone lines for all of our listeners and viewers out there. 1-877-511-5483. Don't worry, friends. If you have a question for one or both of our priests today, we definitely want to hear from you. 1-877-511-5483, or email your questions, priests@thestationofthecross.com. But first, I'm going to ask you a Christmas themed question. Father Rock, I'll start with you, but this is like the $1 million one. Do you prefer, as a priest, do you prefer the midnight mass, the vigil mass of Christmas, or do you prefer mass on Christmas Day?
Well, first, I want to probably offer a correction that the Midnight Mass is not a vigil mass.
Oh, snap.
I was going to say,
wow.
Jordan.
Okay, gosh, guys. Sorry,
Yeah.
I've been Catholic for 29 years. Yeah, there it is. Excommunicado. Yeah, I hear it.
So I guess just to clarify on that point, there is sort of in the general parlance, the Mass said sort of the night before that fulfills the obligation of the next day. And it's sort of like liturgically the next day is in the sort of jargon called a vigil mass, but more properly is an anticipated mass. Mm-hmm. Historically, a vigil mass is the mass of a vigil day. And so a vigil day is a day preceding a major feast day, usually penitential in nature, to be served as a day of preparation. And the mass proper of the vigil day is the vigil mass. So the mass proper for the 24th of December is the vigil mass, because the 24th is the vigil. So if you look in the missal, it'll say basically 24th of December, the vigil of the Nativity of our Lord, and the entire day of the 24th is the vigil day. The mass of the 24th is the vigil mass. The midnight mass is the first mass of Christmas Day, or the feast of Christmas, we can say. So it is properly a mass of Christmas, the first mass of Christmas. It is not in any way to be considered a vigil mass historically. So now that we got that off the table,
Yeah, now that let me amend my question to what I meant to say. So I'm such a bad Catholic over here. Maybe it's the Irish cream over here. I just want to blame something here, not just my own ignorance.
Cheers.
The question still stands. Okay, fine. Do you prefer the first Mass of Christmas, which by the way sounds like a really great Catholic Hallmark movie? Details later. I'm sure Daniel, we can write it out. Or the Mass before. This is thrown to pieces.
So there's three masses of Christmas, right? There's the midnight mass, and the second mass is called the dawn mass, the third mass, the day mass, and they each have different themes. They each have different prayers, different readings, different gospels. The gospels is sort of, the second one is a continuation of the first, so it's kind of like Act 1, Act 2. First you're in the fields, then you're in Bethlehem, there's the birth, and you go to the fields, and the angel shows up. The second mass, the shepherds go over to Bethlehem. The third mass, the gospel, is the prologue of St. John. And so of those three, which one do I prefer? Well, we get to say all three of them. That's one of the privileges of Christmas Day, is it's one of the few days of the liturgical year where priests get to say three masses without any sort of special permission or indult. And so we get to say all three. So you don't really have to pick because you get to do all three of them. So I do have a certain fondness, I think, for the third mass because it's technically the most Roman of all of them. The one from midnight is imitating the rites of Jerusalem, and the dawn mass is imitating the rites of the Greeks without going into sort of all the historical details of why that is. And so the third mass is the most Roman, so that's just sort of a special place for me. But you don't have to pick because you get to do all three of them. So
does that sound agreeable to you, to Father Alloy? Now that Father Grot gave us that, of course, a priest would give this answer kind of answer.
Ditto on the vigils, making vigils great again. That's really good of you. But no, I have to say, this year I really did. I preferred the dawn mass, partially because I was still conscious at that time. The second reason was, I don't know, just the commemoration of Saint Anastasia at the dawn mass, the shepherds, coming over to Bethlehem and all that. I don't know. I really like the dawn mass this year. We'll see what next year holds.
That's great. I've learned so much and also exposed my ignorance. And I just want to say for the record, Daniel, I heard you chirping in there, acting like you knew all of that. Get out of here. This is why I'm wearing my Stranger Things beanie, just to make sure that you seethe with anger throughout this episode. But very good to get us off to the races. Let's go ahead and get these questions. People are already chirping in. Always great to hear from you all. 1-877-511-5483. This is a great question. Tony, we're going to hit your question first off of YouTube because, friends, every single year we all have those friends on Facebook, or maybe if you're a little younger, maybe they still tell up TikToks about this stupid thing, but you'll hear this all the time. Jesus wasn't born on December 25th. Christmas comes from a pagan holiday, right? The winter solstice, all that stuff. So Tony asks a great question. Let's hit it right there. Merry Christmas, fathers, he says. And was Jesus really born on December 25th?
Well, I'll take a stab at that first. So I read a really good article by a certain priest by the name of Father Rock, who wrote specifically on this point. And I know we might disagree with some of the questions coming up on the docket, but 100% agree with Father Rock in this. He nailed it. The whole invention, and they do this with a lot of other things. Easter, Easter's name of a pagan god. And so, the church is just mimicking all of these other pagan practices. They never did anything original. It's all baloney. If you want to get the nerdy take, then read Father Rock. If you're just kind of a normal IQ person like me, just take it fake news. It's, the Catholic Church, yes, did not just invent things, and Jesus was really born on December 25th. So, yeah, Father Rock, give us the nerdy version.
That's right. Yeah. Nerdy priest. I just want to, before you do Father Rock, I do want to make the shameless plug because presumably, Father Ali, you probably read it on The Missive, correct? One of Father Rock's articles.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's exactly it. So for those who don't know, the Fraternity of St. Peter has this really great blog. It's called The Missive, and there's a lot of really great articles. So it's sometimes part of my news, Catholic, and theology routine. A lot of really great things. And Father Rock is a regular contributor for The Missive, which is why he has earned his title as nerdy priest in the extraordinary form, which is well deserved, by the way. So Father, if you have anything to add, we totally would happily hear it.
Okay. So I think, sort of piggybacking off of what Father Aloy said, is there was a lot of this called sort of comparative religion work that was done, particularly in the 1800s, that was just really bad scholarship. It happened, as Father's saying, like with Easter, it happened with Halloween, it happened with Christmas, and all these things were just like, it's all just like recycled, remicrowaved, reheated paganism. And at the time, it's like even scholars at the time, like, this is just baloney, but somehow it got into the common mainstream and it's just never been corrected. So we're kind of dealing with like this intellectual baggage, in a sense, from the late 1800s that is just really bad and poor scholarship that just seems to hang around, even though it's been like repeatedly disproven by serious scholarship, like over and over and over again. And so you're like, oh, Christmas is because of the winter solstice, or winter is because of Saturnalia, or this, that, or the other thing. Or like, no, like none of that works. None of it works. Saturnalia was never celebrated on December 25th. Probably by the time Christmas was instituted, I mean, there's a good argument that they were already observing the winter solstice on December 21st by that point, because there was the shift that happened. But yeah, but for more details, go to the Missive, I guess, because I hear we're coming up to a commercial. So there you go.
We can pick up whatever you want at the tail end of that. But yeah, you could hear the fancy Polar Express Christmas music. Thank you again, Daniel and James. That means, friends, that we're done with our first segment, but don't worry, we'll be right back with more Ask a Priest Live, our special with Fathers Aloy and Father Rock. And also we're going to get to these great questions. Colleen, I see your question from Missouri. Elizabeth, I see yours, Midwest Thomas. Sean McKeegan, shout out to you. Great question there. We're going to get through all of these questions and more. In the meantime, call in, friends, at 1-877-511-5483 or email fathers, priests at thestationofthecross.com. If you want to specify a particular priest, you can. Otherwise, we'll let them both have it. It's going to be a very fun day today. Hey, I'm Jordan Pacheco, and we'll be right back with more Ask a Priest Live right after the break. God bless you.
St. Nicholas wasn't just the inspiration for a jolly man in a red suit. He was a real bishop who defended the true faith, standing firm against heresy and giving generously in Christ's name. At the Station of the Cross, we follow his example, defending the real Catholic faith and spreading the truth in a world that needs it. Our underwriter, iCatholic Mobile, supports this mission with reliable service and a commitment to promoting the Catholic faith. By choosing iCatholic Mobile, you're helping continue this vital work. More at iCatholicMobile.com.
Download the app to take our programming with you wherever you go. Hear what listeners are saying about the regularly updated iCatholic Radio app.
The programs on iCatholic Radio are uplifting, educational, and have served to deepen my faith as a Catholic. Thank you for this amazing station.
Download the free iCatholic Radio app in your Android or Apple store today. If you already have the app, please consider giving us a 5-star review or telling a friend about it.
Please join us in a prayer to our guardian angel. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. O holy guardian angel, take care of our soul and body. Enlighten our mind that we may know the Lord better and love him with all our heart. Help us in our prayers so that we may not give in to distractions. Assist us with your advice so that we may see the good and carry it out with generosity. Defend us from the insidious snares of the enemy and sustain us in temptations that we may always be victorious. Remedy our coldness in our worship of the Lord. Cease not to protect us until you have brought us into paradise, where we will praise our good God together for all eternity. Amen.
Listening to Ask a Priest Live from the Station of the Cross Catholic Media Network and the iCatholic Radio mobile app. Give us a call at 1-877-511-5483 or send us an email at priests@thestationofthecross.com.
Ho, ho, ho! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ask a Priest Live. I'm clearly not Santa, despite how close this toboggan cap makes me. But hey, we're very glad that you are all here. I'm your host, Jordan Pacheco. Hey, we're on with two great priests today, Father Rock and Father Alloy. It's a very special episode, our Christmas special. So go on and get all those questions in, friends, especially if they're Christmas related. Phone lines are open at 1-877-511-5483. All right, Colleen in Missouri, you have a great question here. This is going to be fun. For Father Alloy starting, what was the three pope schism? And thank you.
Oh, Colleen, you don't know. You have no idea.
Activated his trap cards.
So, Father Rock and I, we were in the same apostolate for 2 years. And this topic came up once a week, probably, at least.
Oh my gosh.
Fairly often.
So, fairly often.
There was
yes.
even like a whiteboard argument back and forth.
Oh, we brought out the whiteboard.
Oh,
we
boy.
brought out books. We brought out, yeah, it was amazing. So, needless to say, we hold conflicting opinions here. Just as a little kind of background, so what you're referring to, Colleen, is called the Great Western Schism. Happened in the 1300s after Avignon, the Avignon papacy moved back to Rome and things like that. Some people didn't like that. This guy named Pedro de Luna, he ran a Vote for Pedro campaign, and he got himself elected an anti-pope. And so everyone was like, fine, there's an anti-pope and all of that, great. Then things got really controversial. This is where my opinion comes in here. And there's this thing called the Pisan line, or the line of Pisa. And they had a great idea. They said, let's depose the other two popes, the two guys claiming to be popes, and we'll fix it by electing a new guy. And then they elect the new guy under very dubious circumstances, might I add. This is my opinion. And very, very questionable. The reigning pope was not okay with this. And the result was that none of the three popes resigned. So now you have three popes. And so this situation continued for a while. The Pisan line, might I add, died out very quickly. And some of the cardinals and bishops who voted for guy number 3, Alexander V of immemorial fame, he died in like a couple very, very shortly afterwards. And then his successor also, I don't think he was very long lived either. But anyway, this entire controversy gets resolved in later at the Council of Constance in, I believe, 1417. And everybody resigns. Nobody cares about Pedro de Luna anymore, and we all live happily ever after. Now, I can tell Father Rock really wants to say something, but that is the overview of
Opening
the Great Western
salvo.
Schism. And take it away, Father Rock.
So right, good. So I guess part of where the complication comes in is at the very beginning. So as Father said, they're kind of back in Rome from the Avignon exile and the Babylonian captivity, as it's called. And there's an election, but it's for a new pope, but it's kind of like this whole weird thing where like Italians stormed the place where they were doing the election. They said somebody was pope, but they didn't actually vote for him, just to sort of like get the mob off their back. But there was someone they actually voted for, and then they kind of had like a revote just to make sure everyone actually agreed. And everyone's like, yes, we agree. But then a group of cardinals got upset with the one that they elected because he was kind of, I guess, heavy-handed and difficult to work with. And they were like, well, this first one was invalid. It was an invalid election because of this mob and everything that was going on, even though they had the second vote. And so they're like, well, so therefore there's no pope, so we're going to elect a new one. That's where the whole Pedro campaign came in. So like just from the very beginning, like this is like kind of crazy. So you have like mobs storming papal palaces and things like that, and setting up false popes to like throw people off. And then you have this meeting or council at Pisa or whatever you want to call it, which is trying to resolve. the situation, and it has cardinals from both camps, so both the Rome camp and the Avignon camp, because I think that's where De Luna went back to. And they were like, okay, both of them are, whoever is the right one, it doesn't matter because they're both deposed for heresy and schism, is what they were going with. Father Alloy believes that was dubious claims, especially for the Roman line, that there was actually like
so sketch.
not, so it was so sketchy. And then so they elect this other line, and there is a successor to Alexander V, but he's like not really super important. Nope. I guess then sort of where, yeah, and so you have like these three popes, at least three claimants. One of them's the real one. It does get more complicated, sort of even following on, because you do have monuments to sort of the event and following, which do recognize the Pisan line as legitimate, and there was a sort of pseudo-official list of popes, which up until the pontificate of John III considered Alexander V and the Pisan line as legitimate, which was kind of unceremoniously overthrown by John XXIII without, it doesn't seem much sort of due diligence to the question. The Catholic Encyclopedia, the old one, doesn't really take a strong position. It's just like, yeah, things are a little fuzzy and we're not really sure what happened, but it all got sorted out. So I kind of favor the Pisan line because of this historical sort of witness of the church to the situation. But we do differ on that. It's interesting. So I think, I'm not sure if this was actual or not, but in Mark Twain's Joan of Arc, this is sort of when this was all going on, she was asked, at least in the book and maybe in the actual records, because it was very, like, he did a lot of historical research to ensure that his work was as historically accurate as possible. He went to France, looked at all the manuscripts of the trials and everything like that, and she was asked, which pope do you back? And she says, is there more than one? And they stopped asking her questions. So maybe that's just the position that we might just need to take. But yeah, it's this whole weird thing. But it's important. It is important to note that there are saints on all sides. Like, so regardless of which saint or which claimant to the papacy you were backing, there are saints on all sides of the question. I think it was clearly understood that everyone, in a sense, was still in communion with the See of Rome. It was just arguments over who was the actual one sitting on the See. So it's sort of this weird situation where, like, the See, like, everyone's still in communion with each other, but they're not really sure who the Pope is. So that sometimes that might just be the best place to leave things, unless we're going to do a whole like doctoral dissertation back and forth. I don't know, Father Ali, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Nope, sounds good. Never go to Pisa.
That is so, doesn't have anything more to add. But like I said, we only have 40 minutes. I do want to just say this, and Father Rock, you kind of alluded to it, so I'd just love to get this take. But reading a quick overview of the Western schism, which as you said, there were both saints on both sides. Saint Vincent Ferrer, of course, is very famous to have backed an anti-pope in his time, based out of France. I get this sense that this might be maybe a helpful takeaway for some people, which is that would it be accurate to say it's not so much sometimes, especially in this case, that one cannot have communion with the Catholic Church and one cannot be called to holiness and one can actually be a good Catholic as long as one believes in the chair of St. Peter and is attempting out of the goodness of the heart to back the right guy on the chair of St. Peter as opposed to their own political ambitions. Sometimes it happens where there's a little bit of confusion, right? We could even get into the numbering of like John the 20th or something, right? But like as long as one acknowledges that there is a chair of St. Peter and it ought to be occupied, I feel like that's kind of a takeaway that I funnily have about this relatively weird hiccup in church history.
Yes, that is definitely a takeaway. I know Father or Hung Wiki, may he may rest in peace, had some articles about this, and he did sort of investigate, like, when it says we're supposed to be in communion with Rome, does that mean the See or the person who occupies the See? And so it was some interesting thought for reflection, what exactly that means and how that plays out. Now, clearly, if there's a clear, undisputed person who is occupying the See of Peter, then you should be in communion with the person as well as the See. But when things can get, dicey like this, where things aren't clear, and like I said, from the very beginning, like this whole like election was sketchy, and things just kind of spiraled out of control. Like it started off bad and just got worse as time went on. And I think, as long as people were trying to do their best based on the lights they were given, then that shouldn't really be held against them, I don't think.
I got to be honest, I also am very, very fond of just Renaissance or early Renaissance kind of papal succession, because for instance, you were elected as Bishop of Rome as Pope, but also you'd have to be approved by the Roman mob, who on occasion would throw other, like, run popes out of town, and then popes would imprison other popes and then become pope. Like, there's just, it's like nowadays I think that there's so much, I mean, rightly so, like deference to the chair of St. Peter, but I just kind of read our history and I'm just like, guys, sometimes I feel like we're just like so scared of everything. Like, we think Vatican I just solved like a nutshell perfect. I'm like, man, dude, our history is so wild. Like, we're just Catholics are so unruly.
Yeah, I guess the very temperamental Romans, I guess. So,
you know, maybe.
Because you're talking about like the whole like power dynamic between the Holy Roman Emperor and the papacy and the Kingdom of Sicily, and they're all like putting up armies against each other, and like who's backing this mob, who's backing that mob, like what's going on. You're just like, like what is going on? Like the Pope is here, but like there's this German anti-Pope, and like neither of them are in Rome. You're just like, what? But
ironically, none of them touch theology. The schism would have been worse if they started like messing everything. But it seems like it was just purely who's Pope. It wasn't like, hey, what if we adjust the mass a little bit? Like, say what's going to happen there. So I don't know, guys. Maybe
but it's interesting. But I would just say, like, there is times it's like when it's the undisputed popes who are the ones that seem to have theological issues, like Honorius or John the 22nd, right? They're the ones who are causing like theological controversies. You know, like, so one was condemned for reasons by an ecumenical council for at least flirting with heresy, and the other one basically preached heresy but wasn't really sure it was heresy until like his deathbed. And so like it's weird that the ones who are like clearly this is the Pope are the ones who are giving us theological issues, but the ones that are disputed, it's just sort of like who's the one who's really in charge, but it's not really touching doctrine. So very complicated.
Yeah,
history is complicated. The church is complicated.
But in my world, it makes for some great content. So glad that you guys have ended the great schism today. May it never happen again. But if it does, I do expect to hear both your comments going forward. God willing, it never does. But I'd love to have you on for it. So great question indeed. Great question to kick us off. 1-877-511-5483. Again, that call-in number is wide open, friends. 1-877-511-5483. Wait a second. I'm looking at my clock here. Did we really? Oh, that's a good problem to have. Well, we're approaching the break. Don't worry. I see plenty of questions on the document. We're having fun. Guys, it's Christmas, okay? It's Christmas. Relax. It's Christmas. So looking ahead at the document, I love your question there, MP. YouTube will definitely turn over. Elizabeth, great question here. A little bit late, but a question about the Feast of St. Thomas, which happened a little bit ago. And then also a question about other feast day during Christmas tide, and that's going to be good. So don't worry, friends. Go on to keep populating that document. This is definitely the kind of show where you're going to want to call in. Okay, I'm just going to spill the beans right now. We're clearly having too much fun. If you really want your question in today, best way is to call in. That phone line is still wide open. 1-877-511-5483. But don't worry, you can always email your questions for Father Rock and Father Alloy, priests at thestationofthecross.com, as well as type up your questions on YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. Hey, by the way, if you're in the live chat, I want to hear a couple of things. I want to hear what your favorite Christmas movie is, secular or religious, but obviously a good Christmas movie probably should have some religious thematics to it. And also, if you got something really cool for Christmas, maybe you got a new 1962 missile, because those things are expensive, and your boy here might have lost his. Hey, I'm Jordan Pacheco. This is Ask a Priest Live, and don't go anywhere. More Father Rock and more Father Alloy here on this very wonderful Christmas special. We'll be right back right after the break. God bless you.
I'm Jim Havens, host of The Simple Truth, heard weekdays at 4 p.m. Eastern on the Station of the Cross Catholic Media Network.
This is kind of the playbook of how the culture has been so decimated and destroyed. I think the most important thing is to just recognize how much we have been manipulated. You know, I've come to see anytime Christianity and Judaism are weak, the occult just fills in. It's like the jungle. You know, the weeds just come in, and that's what fills the gaps.
That's The Simple Truth, weekdays at 4 p.m. Eastern on the Station of the Cross.
Did you know that an unwanted car or truck can make a great gift? When the time comes to purchase a new one, consider donating your old car or truck to the Station of the Cross. We have a quick and simple way for you to get rid of your unwanted vehicle while supporting the solid Catholic programming you love listening to on your radio, online, and through your mobile devices. Whether they run or not, we accept cars, trucks, RVs, boats, and motorcycles. It's a great opportunity for you to give more than you might normally be able to. At the same time, you'll be clearing out space in your garage or driveway, ridding yourself of an unwanted vehicle. Just visit us online at thestationofthecross.com or call 1-866-628-CARS, 1-866-628-2277. May God bless you for your generosity in support of Catholic Radio.
Catholic radio has just been a lifesaver for me. I still listen to it every day. I start my day with it. I listen to it all day long as much as I can. I am very grateful for it.
It's just an amazing thing to have, as I am new to Catholicism. Obviously, it's not only helping me, but it's helping so many other people on their walk.
Thank you. God bless you for iCatholic Radio. It has changed my life.
Donate today at thestationofthecross.com.
For the weekly show lineup or resources from past episodes, check out our show page at thestationofthecross.com or watch our live video feeds on Facebook, YouTube, or Rumble to interact with the show team and submit your questions in real time. Just search for Ask a Priest Live.
Merry Christmas, listeners and viewers all, and thank you all for the day after Christmas proper tuning in to us here at Little Old Ask a Priest Live. I'm your host, Jordan Pacheco, coming at you with my great Stranger Things toboggan cap that Daniel loves so much, and I'm totally not a poser for wearing this thing. It's cold here in Colorado. They say we're expecting snow, so God thought, let them understand that they're still mortal by giving them a not quite white Christmas, but judging by the weather outside, things might change out tomorrow. We'll definitely got to see. Hey, this is a very special Christmas episode for all y'all who have been listening. We're on with Father Daniel Alloy and Father William Rock, both of the Fraternity of St. Peter, but both having very different opinions on the Western Schism, as we just heard this last segment. So don't worry, we are going to have plenty more questions in the docket here. We want yours to be a part of them. Do yourselves a favor. This is definitely one of those shows you want to call in. It's a very, very great episode. 1-877-511-5483. Before we move on, I just want to read this great question from Katharina, or is it Katarina? I always say it wrong, and I know if it's with the hard T, you got to let me know. But she says, Jordan, you should totally have these two priests on your podcast to debate and discuss the topic of the Western Schism. I think that's a great idea. For those that don't know, you should totally subscribe to the Glad Trad podcast, by the way. And fathers, I want to extend that invitation. I think that would actually be a really fun hour and a half in good podcast format. But I'm going to pressure you both. We want to come on? Want to have some fun?
I will take it under advisement.
Yeah,
I know.
We would of course need permission from our superiors to undertake something like that. So we do have same permission for this radio program, but anything beyond that, we'd have to run by our bosses.
Oh, so. You should have read the contract. It was included inside this radio program. You know, just it's an extra edition. Sorry, you're too late now. So who is your superior nowadays?
Father William Lawrence is the provincial of the North American province. Yes.
Okay, good. I don't know if I have rapport with him, but I'm about to. I'm going to send him a nice gift basket. So we will to be continued. Great comment indeed. All right, moving on to these questions. 1-877-511-5483. This is our Christmas episode, which means we had to have this, listeners and viewers. Okay, fathers, here's the question. Your top favorite / best Christmas movies. Daniel wants you to give 5, but if you gave 2 or 3, I think that would be okay. So for instance, one of my favorite Christmas movies is Die Hard. I just want to put that out there for everyone because it's obviously a Christmas movie. So Father Rock, I'll turn it over to you first. Give me a few of your favorite Christmas movies.
Sure. Okay. So I think I'd have to go with Muppet Family Christmas.
Man of culture.
Muppet Christmas Carol. Yes. So Muppet Family Christmas, Muppet Christmas Carol, Klaus, and let's just say the newly animated Grinch from back in like 2018. So I don't know, that's 4. I guess that's a good list to start with.
That's good. Muppet Family Christmas, Muppet Christmas Carol, Klaus, which everyone loves, really great animations on Netflix. And you said the newest Grinch. I've not heard that one before. That's the one from like 2019 it was?
2018, I believe. I think Cumberbatch plays the Grinch. Oh yeah, it's a good remake. It does a good homage to the original source material, but also sort of takes it in a good and fun direction. Just good dialogue, good everything. Yes.
All right, that's a good list. Father Alloy, what do you got?
So I would definitely echo Klaus. Father Rock actually introduced me to Klaus. Definitely amazing movie. I don't feel as strongly about the Muppets, but I do feel much more strongly about Die Hard. Definitely a Christmas movie. But my top three are number one is always going to be It's a Wonderful Life. Definitely best Christmas movie. Number two for me is The Man Who Invented Christmas. The story about Charles Dickens. And number three, I think I would actually put the new Grinch movie. I would agree with Father Rock with that one. Number three, we actually watched it. I watched it with Father Fearborn last night, and it's great. I think it's even better than the original.
Wow. Okay. That sounds good. Daniel says you can't pick the same ones, but Daniel's being a humbug, so we're not going to listen to him there in the chat. I like all of your picks. I subscribe to Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and I'd like to see chat's opinion on it. Father Alloy, do you think Die Hard is a Christmas, or Father Rock, do you think Die Hard is a Christmas movie, or do you disagree?
I think I'm gonna have to disagree. I don't. I think just because it takes place at Christmas, I don't think is enough to make it a Christmas movie.
I mean, that helps though.
It does help, but I don't think it's enough. I don't know exactly what. I think there needs to be some sort of reflection of Christmassy values in it, at least some degree or reflection of level, in order for it to be a Christmas movie, not just that it takes place at Christmas.
It's about a family coming back together at Christmas. That's like it's a Wonderful Life with guns. That's what it is.
Well, I guess that's one way to look at it.
Thank you. All right, let's watch Ask a Priest live. Die Hard. No, I'm just kidding. I can't fly that on air. I just want to also add that I like the themes. I watched Home Alone with my parents the other day, which was weird, and that movie actually has like the whole like the point kind of climax of the film, not like action wise, but in terms of him learning a lesson. I didn't realize, I forgot that it takes place in a church where he kind of makes peace with that creepy guy, and then actually find out that also is a broken family that needs to be healed. So we kind of see that reflected in the young Kevin and the older man. And I was like, this is a really Christian theme. And of course they put it in a church. So I actually really like Home Alone. I forgot how enjoyable of a movie that was. So that's my food, but great list. Chat, we definitely want to hear from you. Go on and type yours up. Again, call in if you have a question on this wonderful Christmas special, 1-877-511-5483. Okay, we're going to pivot. We're going to turn to some of our YouTube questions. A lot of great questions. I like this one from Dama Católica. I think it actually ties in really nicely because she says, can you talk about these feast days following Christmas, the St. Stephen martyrdom, St. John martyrdom, or the Will and Holy Innocents martyrdom? And this is really important because this is also a great question, but Christmas is not just a one flash in the pan day, but there's a whole Christmastide, and there are these feast days I think often get swallowed up. So I'll turn it to you, Priest, but tell us a little bit about these feasts that go on during Christmastide and their importance.
Well, I'll take a stab at it. Again, Father Rock has a really great article about this. It's called the Comites Christi, which means the companions of Christ. And the three feast days following Christmas are today, St. Stephen, then tomorrow, St. John the Evangelist, and then the 28th are the Holy Innocents. And traditionally, you would have three different colors vestments that day. You would have red for today, white for St. John, and violet for the Holy Innocents. And it shows the three types of martyrs, or the three ways of giving testimony by one's life to Christ, to the newborn King. And today in Matins, for St. Fulgentius has a wonderful quote where he's talking about St. Stephen is the first one. He kind of compares and contrasts the coming of Christ and the going of St. Stephen to heaven. That Christ came on earth to give us the strength of martyrdom and the grace to endure the valley of tears. St. Stephen gives up his life and goes to meet his King of Kings on the day after Christmas, and also being the proto-martyr. He has a special place there. But no, the three Comites Christi and their intertwining octaves are definitely a huge part of Christmas, these 12 days of Christmas. But then the three companions are kind of the closest cluster around Christ, as the ones who, in a certain sense, are, by their life and by their testimony, are in a certain sense closest to the manger.
Great. Anything to add on that, Father Rock?
It's sort of touching on something that was brought up in the question. The reason why, as Father indicated, that there's this sort of these different color vestments is that in a certain sense they all are considered martyrs, which is in the Greek just means giving witness, as Father said, giving witness of their lives to the newborn king. And sort of the traditional way it's said is that Stephen was a martyr both in will and in deed, that he underwent an actual martyrdom and had the will to do so. John had the will to do it, but didn't actually happen, because according to tradition, he was thrown into a pot of boiling oil outside of the Latin Gate and came out more healthy than he was when he went in. So he was willing to undergo the martyrdom, but there was sort of divine intervention which prevented it. So he at least had the will of a martyr. And then with the Holy Innocents, they had the martyrdom sort of in deed, but not in will, because they were only infants. They couldn't will anything yet, but they were in a sense baptized in their own blood and were able to give witness through their martyrdom. And so that's sort of what Father Ale was touching on when he said that these different ways of giving this witness or giving this martyrdom, with the interplay between the act and the will. So yeah, and I would say for those who want to go bother their priest tomorrow, there's a special blessing of wine on the Feast of St. John. So maybe you can set that up and get some wine blessed tomorrow, because it was also someone tried to kill him by giving him a poison goblet. So you can see him like blessing a goblet and a snake coming out of it. So that's another way that he was almost martyred, but it didn't really happen. Yeah, so there you go. So yeah, throughout these 12 days, you have, as Father was saying, sort of these feasts. Then you have the octave day of Christmas, which traditionally has been followed by the octave of Stephen, the octave of John, the octave of Holy Innocents, then the vigil of Epiphany, and then Epiphany itself, because they were considered so important. Not only could they be celebrated during the octave of Christmas, but they each had their own octaves as well.
1-877-511-5483. Ooh, this is a good question off of YouTube. I think this is one that also is one of those Catholically divisive questions. So, fathers, what are your thoughts on allowing children to believe in Santa Claus? Father Alloy, we'll start with you.
All right. Well, I mean, my parents raised me, believing in Santa. I don't think that it's lying to your children. I've heard that said by priests and things like that. If somebody is under the illusion that telling kids about Santa Claus is lying to their children, they need to read this book, Letters from Father Christmas by Tolkien, who was a trad. He was a dad, and this book is a collection of letters that he wrote impersonating Father Christmas. And he wrote them over 20-something years to his children. And he would tell them, hey, sorry, I'm late this year in writing. The polar bear who was helping me, wrap the presents, he stumbled over and ruined my house. And, and it's absolutely, he drew pictures and all that. There's some North Pole runes that he makes up. There's some different characters that he introduces in the story. And so I think, I do not think that telling your children about Santa is lying. There is a point, obviously, when as a child you speak as a child, and then as an adult you put away the things of a child. So at a certain point you do need to tell them, the full literal truth, not just the mythological truth. But that's just where I stand.
How does that sound to you, Father Rock?
Well, I'm not usually one to argue with Tolkien, so
there he goes.
That's pretty strong. I don't know. I guess I'm a little bit more. If you take sort of the Thomistic definition of lying, which is asserting something contrary is how you have it in your mind. I guess to see how that would play out with the Santa Claus thing would be interesting, because I think it's definitely one thing, and Thomas would allow for this, which is make believe. But that's a case where everybody knows that you're making believe. But in the case of this, it seems like only certain people know you're making believe, and other people think it's true, which would almost seem like it's falling under the definition of a jocose lie. But I do hear that the music is coming up, so maybe that's a good place to leave it for the time being. But
okay,
I'm a little bit more
okay. Yeah, I have an opinion on it because I too grew up with the belief in Santa. I actually remember defending it in 4th grade. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Made me look like an idiot. And I'm just kidding. You guys are absolutely wonderful. But yeah, you can hear by the music, friends. We're only going to have one more segments with Father Alloy and Father Rock. So going to get those questions in. 1-877-511-5483. A very special Christmas episode today here on Ask a Priest Live. We've had a lot of fun. Only one more segment of fun left. I'm Jordan Pacheco. Hey, we'll be right back in just a couple of minutes. God bless you.
Join the Station of the Cross every Saturday morning at 9 after the 8 a.m. Holy Mass and Sunday afternoons at 2 for a teaching episode on the Catechism of the Catholic Church. You'll learn the essential and fundamental content of our Catholic faith and morals in a complete and concise way with clarity and charity. That's Saturday mornings at 9 and Sunday afternoons at 2 here on the Station of the Cross, Catholic Media Network, and the free iCatholic Radio mobile app.
The Station of the Cross Catholic Media Network is dedicated to answering the critical need of access to quality, consistent, professional, and proven Catholic programming. We cannot rely on other media outlets to properly represent our Church. Catholic Radio reaches Catholics, non-Catholic Christians, and non-believers alike. As a nonprofit lay organization financially independent of your diocese, our apostolate is listener-supported.
Catholic radio has just been a lifesaver for me. I still listen to it every day. I start my day with it. I listen to it all day long as much as I can. I am very grateful for it.
It's just an amazing thing to have, as I am new to Catholicism. Obviously, it's not only helping me, but it's helping so many other people on their walk.
Thank you. God bless you for iCatholic Radio. It has changed my life.
Donate today at thestationofthecross.com.
I turned from a recreational drug user to a drug addict. That took me to my knees. I lost a family, almost 2 families. I lost friends. Now that I'm back in the Catholic Church, I'm a new person. I love it. I love it. My heart's there. I took communion after 18 years, and the rest of the Mass I sat and cried. God restored my life. God restored my family. God restored my love.
If you've been away from the Catholic Church for any reason, visit CatholicsComeHome.org today.
Never miss an episode by subscribing to our podcast feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the free iCatholic Radio mobile app on your Android and Apple mobile devices. Listen on the go at your convenience and consider leaving us a 5-star review if you're enjoying the show.
Merry Christmas, listeners and viewers all. What do you want for Christmas? What's that? More Ask a Priest Live. Well, ask and ye shall receive, but better not be making that request to Santa because he's not real, as we just heard. So we're going to get right back in. We're going to have one more segment with Father Rock and Father Alloy here. So it's a very wonderful episode, our very special Christmas double feature. So we've been taking questions, particularly Christmas themed, but obviously we've been having a little bit of fun. And look, all my Irish cream is gone. And like a good Catholic, I'm not totally going to get a second glass. Just kidding. My dad said you could get 2 glasses, but never 3. So I got you, Dad. Love you. Shout out to my father. Hey, so before we move on to these questions, I just had a quick thing to add. So we had a great question coming off of YouTube about, is belief in Santa for children, is this something that we should engage in as Catholics? Both of you gave very great answers. Father Rock, I know that you were a little pressed for time, so I don't know if you wanted to add. I mean, Father Alloy brought out J.R.R. Tolkien, you brought out St. Thomas Aquinas, so if you want anything else, this is your chance to do so.
I guess I would just say that in the practice of it, I don't think there's anything wrong with, say, giving presents in honor of St. Nicholas or in honor of, St. Lucy or whatever the particular tradition might be. There is the tradition, sort of even before the whole Christmas present thing, of St. Nicholas supposedly coming the night before if you leave your shoes out and they leave sort of candy or stuff in your shoe. So I wouldn't be opposed to saying like, oh, this is being done in honor of St. Nicholas or in honor of St. Lucy or or whoever else might be, because different cultures have different traditions. Like the Italians have the Befana, and instead of Santa Claus, and like all these different things. But I think, in terms of saying like this was done in honor of Santa Claus, I think that's okay. But to say like, no, like there's really this person that's like, when you know it's not true, but you're saying like, yes, this is actually true. Like, I don't see how that doesn't fall at least into what St. Thomas would say is a jocose lie. And again, I think it's one thing if everyone is playing pretend and everyone knows you're playing pretend, that's one thing. But when only certain folks in the equation know that it's pretend and others don't, that's where things seem to get morally murky. So maybe, I don't know, I guess that's a good place to leave it.
A couple comments, but Father Rock, I'll pass it to you. If Santa Claus isn't real though, how do you explain this picture? Oh, well, it's hard to see. There it goes. This picture of me on a train, and look who's in the center there. So I don't know, Father Rock. I feel like that's pretty compelling evidence to me.
Photo evidence.
Photoshop. Yeah, I'm in a Photoshop.
Fine, fair, you got me. No, I'm just playing. So what I'm saying is, I grew up, and so in my family, we grew up with the belief in Santa, and then kind of naturally, as you get a little older into the age of reason, and specifically when you discover that maybe mom and dad hide the Christmas Xbox presents at the very top of their closet. Not saying any of us found that out. I feel like there's almost a media via for a lot of Catholics here, which I feel like now in retrospect, I think it's totally great. And I'd love to read the book by J.R.R. Tolkien, Father Alloy, because I know that G.K. Chesterton has a really great little short essay about Father Christmas. And it's an analogy actually for the church. And I've always really liked it. But I wondered if I wish that there was more of a synthesis of Santa Claus is St. Nicholas. And while he's not real, he's not the reason for the season, there are traditions that we do that we should happily, as culturally participate in, because they're just part of, I think, what makes for a pretty fun Christmas. So we didn't do the whole sit on Santa's lap at the mall thing very much, but I do remember writing the man letters and really giving a defense, a real proper defense, in court in 4th grade about the existence of Santa. And now it was all for nothing. So I just feel like I was duped. No, not really. It was great.
So I will say that growing up, I did do the whole letter writing thing and the milk and cookie things and putting out the reindeer food.
Yeah, the reindeer
probably actually
food.
Bird food. Leaving the carrot for Rudolph and going to see the mall Santa or the Santa at the firehouse after the tree lighting and all that stuff. I grew up with all that, but sort of as you go, especially going through seminary, you're like, this is what lying is, and you're like, oh well, if this is what lying is, I don't see how you can sort of get around it.
So the seminary ruined Christmas.
Yeah, that's a new episode title right there.
The seminary ruined Santa Claus. Yes, there you go. But the seminary, we do put out our shoes on St. Nicholas Eve and wake up the next morning and there's candy in them.
Do you guys really?
So, we do, yeah. So you can put out as many shoes as you want, and someone goes around and fills them with candy.
I think Father Rock needs a trip to New York City, dressed in an elf costume to reclaim his Christmas spirit.
Also, Santa's all in that movie. How do you disprove that?
Which
4K.
movie? Elf?
That's Elf. Thank you.
Yeah.
I got through the first 10 minutes of that and I just couldn't. I'm sorry. I couldn't do it.
Wow. What a denier. Okay.
But I wouldn't, with the way things are going now, I wouldn't want to go to New York City. It's just not a place I would want to go right now.
Okay.
But I think, it's but again, I don't think there's anything wrong with these traditions as long as it's framed correctly. This is done in honor of St. Nicholas or honor of, the Christ child or in honor of the Magi, depending on, sort of what tradition you follow. But to be yes, this man came down the chimney and just but did he?
We don't even have a chimney. We're in suburbia.
Yeah.
No, this is all very fair. I also do want to just point out before we move on, probably to our final question, that you guys remember that 1960s Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer animated, right? Which is fun. It's fun every year, except for one problem that always frustrates me, which is that one of the elves wants to be a dentist, and all the other elves are horrified at the idea of getting free dental which is just as maybe it's like we're post the Industrial Revolution and I expect some worker benefits, but I'm like, wow, the resistance in this place because the guy wants to like make sure you can have a root canal after all that Christmas candy you eat. It's just wild to me. So that's what really caused my disbelief. I said, there's no way Santa will be this much of a slave driver after I've seen Tim Allen become Santa Claus in my youth, you know? So there's a lot of things going on. I just wanted to point that out very quickly. Things going. Great question indeed, man. We've been having fun today. I'm going to see if I can find a really quick. Oh, Katie says that she's here in New York City. She's very offended by you, Father Rock, but she'll probably get over it. It's okay. Thank you, Katie. God bless you. Wow. Let's see. We have only a couple minutes of show. Please, Father.
Can I just I will say, so I grew up in northern New Jersey.
Oh, here we go.
And there were times like back, say in like the early 2000s where I would have no issue getting on a bus in town, being dropped off in Times Square, spending the day in the city, and then getting back on the bus and going home. But just with sort of the, I don't know, environment of the city, and I'm talking about basically Times Square, lower Manhattan, not maybe like the outer areas or like by like the cloisters or things like that. Like I would not feel comfortable going alone into Times Square right now with the way things are in the city. Nothing against the city per se. Like I said, I went in there, had good times, visited museums and churches and all that good stuff. But just the way things are right now, I don't know, maybe if I can get people to babysit me when I'm there, like maybe I'd feel happier about it, but there you go.
So to you, Father Alloy, is it possible that if Santa is going to visit New York City, should he come with some more heavy armaments and some bodyguard protection then? Is that the only way he's going to stay safe?
He should bring his license to carry, and
in New York.
I think the North Pole has reciprocity with New York City.
Yeah, you know what? We could fact check this. I don't know. I've learned so much about what your guys' seminary experience was too. This is one of the great questions. I want a council to deal with this. All right, how the proper application of Santa to Catholics, and also is the reciprocity of New York City the same as? Oh yeah, Daniel's writing now. We only have 30 seconds left. This is worth it. Santa is tracked by NORAD. Oh, that's right. Father Rock. I don't know. It sounds like the evidence is just stacked up though. Like he's tracked by NORAD. Would the government lie to us?
Would the government lie to us?
Would it ever tell the truth?
Would it ever? Well, that should close us out. Hey, Merry Christmas, Father Rock, Father Alloy. It has been such a fun show. I wish we had another hour. But hey, before you go, Father Rock, will you please leave us with your blessing?
Benedictio omnipotentis. Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti, et super vos et mani et semper. Amen.
Amen. God bless you, fathers. Really, this has been such an incredible fun show. So I can't wait till next year when we all get our popcorn down and watch all of your top 3 Christmas movies and then get to yell and review them all over again. And hey, thank you all listeners and viewers. Tomorrow's going to be a regular show, but we're still in Christmas tide. So until tomorrow, when I'm on with Father Elias Mary Mills, I'm Jordan Pacheco. This is Ask a Priest Live. God bless you.
The Catholic Church, that even in the temporal order